Hi there. My name is Buck Kansas. I have some more thoughts on the trolley car problem. Particularly, today I want to talk about why some people I've talked to hate the trolley car problem. But to get started, what is the trolley car problem? So, a trolley car is hurtling down a main line. It's going to smash 5 people if you do nothing. You're a bystander next to a lever. If you pull the lever, the trolley car will be diverted to a B line where it will smash one person. Do you pull the lever? Last week, I talked about I don't know if it's last week. Last video, I talked about some reasons you might pull the lever, some reasons you might not pull the lever, and generally dived into what I find to be interesting follow-up questions to this bystander trolley problem. But when I reached out to people and talked to them, and I talked to a lot of people in preparing for making that video, I found that most people hadn't heard about the trolley car problem and had some fun talking about it with me. I found that people who had already heard of the trolley car problem fell into two groups. First, a group of people who said that they really didn't like the problem because it's a no-win problem and it feels like it's designed to make them feel evil no matter what they choose. And then the second group of people who use the trolley car problem as a trap to make others feel evil. So I don't love it. I think it's not a particularly good argument that's made for why you are evil based on your answer, and I'd like to kind of explain why I think that. So, what's the trap? Well, first you ask the bystander trolley problem, and then you ask a follow-up question. You ask what I'm calling the daughter trolley problem. So you change the identity of one of the people on the trolley line to be your daughter or somebody you love, your mother, your spouse, your sibling, something like that. I'm going to go with daughter for the sake of this video. So if you pulled the lever before, they changed the identity of the one person to be your daughter. So now the person you're killing is your daughter. If you didn't pull the lever before, they changed the identity of at least one of the 5 people who you were letting die to be your daughter. So now you're choosing to let your daughter die. And they ask the question, do you change your answer? If you say, yes, I change my answer to spare my child, then they say, oh, you're a hypocrite because everybody is somebody's child. And so it is evil of you to promote your child over someone else's child. If instead you say, I don't change my answer, I wouldn't change it based on my child being involved, they say, oh, you're naive, you're lying to yourself and to me. In reality, you would spare your child. I think both of these answers are wrong and annoying, but particularly wrong. Importantly, last video, I got into the fact that there's a difference between killing and letting die. So the scenario I set for letting die is bad. If you see a child drowning in a knee-high pool and you choose not to save them, you've done something wrong. And the reason you've done something wrong is because you have a duty to do good. You specifically have a duty to help others. You have an increased duty if you're helping a child. So saving a child from a knee-high pool, you're keeping a child from dying. It's a knee-deep pool, so there's almost no risk to you. Thus, it's really clear that you have a duty to save that child. Letting them die is bad. However, if we change the identity of that child to your daughter, now letting them die is much worse. How do you know that it's much worse? Well, if I knowingly let a child starve to death in my local area, that's bad. I should have helped them. I should have given them food. I should have saved them. But if I knowingly let my child starve to death in my house, I could be arrested for negligent homicide. I have a much stronger duty to feed my child than I do to feed other people's children. And that's because I'm a parent. I have a special relationship with my child that means I have a special duty of care to them. So similarly, if I saw 2 children drowning in a knee-high pool and I only had time to save one of them, one child was a stranger, one child was my daughter, I would save my daughter every time, and that is a morally correct choice. It's a tragedy that the other child died, undeniably, but I should choose to save my child over another child because I have that special duty. The trolley car problem makes it a little bit more complicated because we're talking about letting many children die, like 5 children, or letting my one child die. It's harder to engineer an organic situation where that would happen, but the question is somewhat clear in the two axes. One, you have the question of how big is the magnitude between 1 and 5 children? How much bigger is my duty to save one child versus 5 children? And then also the question of how big is my duty to save a random child versus my child? So you've got these two axes. The question is, how big are those differences of moral duties? And in reality, I think you can defensively say either way. I think there's really three answers. One, you could say my special duty to save my child is of infinite size. And so it doesn't matter how many children I'm letting die, I would choose to save my one child. There, you're saying that your special duty to your child is infinitely more important than your duty to save a number of children. I think alternatively, you could say, well, I have a special duty to save my child. That special duty is not greater than my duty to save an additional child. So as soon as there's two children, two random children I'm letting die versus letting my child die, I save the two children because my special relationship, my special duty isn't as morally important as my duty to save another child. I think both of those are great answers. Those kind of bookend the spectrum. And then I think there is a bunch of middle ground. I think you could say my special duty to save my child is greater in size than my duty to save one child. So if I'm saving two children versus my child, I'm saving my child. But what about letting three random children die, four random children, five random children? What about 100 other children? I think you could say that there's a breaking point, that my duty, my special duty to save my child is of equivalent moral weight to saving 10 random children. And so once there's 11 other random children dying, I choose the 11 random children. I think that's also a plausibly true answer. I think it's harder to find that number to really say, oh, well, I wouldn't do it for 9, but I would do it for 10. I wouldn't do it for 10, but I would do it for 11. I think the boundary line is harder to find, but I would imagine that a lot of people feel like if I'm saving two children, two random children, I'd pick my child. If I'm saving 1,000 random children, I'm probably gonna choose 1,000 random children. So, that's how I think you get out of this trap. This is why I don't think it's actually valid. I think you can defensively take either stance, and a stance in the middle. So, there you go. Hopefully, that lets you answer, smug people who try to use the trolley problem to make you feel bad about yourself. I don't think you're a bad person if you prioritize your child over others. That's going to be all for today's video. There's at least one more video I want to make talking about bad answers to the trolley problem. This video is kind of a bad question using the trolley problem. I want to talk about bad answers that I encountered in preparing to make these videos. And if I have time, I'd like to make a video talking about some unintuitive implications of the doctrine of double effect. And perhaps someday in the future, I'll make a video talking about practical applications of the trolley car problem as it pertains to self-driving cars. But for today, this is enough thoughts. My name is Buck Kansas. Please put your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps out a lot. And thank you for listening. Bye.